Hidden gems starting altcoin season. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet, starting with Doge. As I was saying, we are holding very strong support at 21 cents. Most likely going to test this 24-cent area and have a little bit of rejection, and we did that, and then we broke past it and had that push up 29 cents. So if you missed that opportunity, wait for a little bit of a retrace or consolidation, but the next move up would be the 618, which is around 35 cents, and then beyond that is all the way up at 48 cents. So pretty big differential from the 21 cent opportunity. That was about 35%, 38% within a few days, while the other coins are consolidating. You can be making 38% on Doge. Definitely wait for it to close and hold above this previous high before entering into it if you miss that push up, as Dogecoin does have the potential to be hitting $4. Aerodrome, downward wedge, holding above the 200 EMA. Ultimately need to break that downward trend line. Moving over to Flare. Flare keeps pushing up, and we've seen this with Flare before. It starts making this kind of upward movement and breaks previous highs just slightly before retracing, testing the 200 EMA and keeping it nice and close. These are in the 15 minutes, I just realized. That's really, really close, but 4 hours holding above the 200 EMA. We need to hit this downward trend line before looking for an entry for Flare. Personally, none of this is financial advice. Compound, 15 minutes again, not sure why, but had that major push up in the 4 hour time frame. Keep in mind, we've been looking at the daily. The 4 hour is definitely a little bit more precise on what the market is actually doing. And as I was saying down here, we are most likely going to push back up into these two red lines. 618 is at $51, and breaking this downward trend line leaves room to start pushing up to $61 and beyond for Compound. BNT, been promoting this one for a while. It's kind of hidden compared to what a lot of other people have seen in charts. Moving into the daily, we had our entry at 35 cents way back here in April, and we are currently up here around 79 cents. Testing this for the third time on this downward trend line. When this breaks, we want to see that hold and close, and then the next movement up would be a minimum of 39%, but we could see this push up to around $1.32. And that percent, an increase compared to some of the other currencies, is around 64% increase for BNT. However, that is just the beginning. When we start zooming out, BNT's got a very long way to go to be hitting its all-time highs, which is actually all the way up here at $20. And so 79 cents turning into $20. BNT is not a bad bet if you did not enter at 35 cents. Still, 79 cents is not a bad entry for the risk-to-reward ratio, stating that this is at the near bottom and forming very bullish momentum to start pushing this the opposite way, being in the bullish form up to the $20 mark. If you missed your entry for BNT, it is not too late. DNT, I'm also going to do BCH and Sepion. I think somebody requested Sepion or something. But DNT, consolidation underneath that 200 EMA. This 200 EMA is very, very weak. The RSI is very healthy and strong. We just need a little bit of volume to get up over that. Nothing quick and rapid, as we've been tiring this 200 EMA out. And once that breaks, we could see that push up at least to this area around 0.04, maybe get some rejection before pushing up to that 0.05 area. That little bit of rejection could be very quick, or it could be played out to test that 200 EMA more as support before pushing up into a very, very high price point for DNT, currently at 2 cents. Absolute, it's bottoming out. That's what you would consider a bottom, and it's about to do a reversal and start heading the other way. Tornado Cash, bring it up in every video because it is the healthiest looking coin on the daily. It's been nothing but 100% plus profit since we entered this bigger entry once we broke this downward trend line. And we are currently at $14.80, all-time high of $459.83. Not a bad risk to reward, very bullish. If we invert this visual, that's just pure liquidity pouring into Tornado Cash. It bottomed out completely, had those few spikes, and then now it is being backed by Ethereum owners and other companies, and it is starting to push this way, and it is going to drop very, very hard towards the upside. You're going to probably want to start buying whenever it's $93 when you have some cash to spend from the other profits, but at $14 is definitely a way better entry for Tornado Cash. You can trade it on MEXC, reference in the description below, and if you use that reference, you get $10 USDT for free, which you can use to buy Tornado Cash. Spell, definitely building a base off that bottom line, testing this 200 EMA as well, just like DNT. But once we get over that 200 EMA and this downward line, that is where we would be looking for the entry on Spell. IOTX, kind of a hidden one. Everything's in 15 minutes because I looked at it for one moment. Testing the 200 EMA, once we get over that, the push, we really need to break this 0.034 cents to start looking at putting money into IOTX, but it's starting to look very healthy and testing the patience on the 200 EMA. CTSI, if you missed your entry on CTSI, this thing is ready to pop. It's over the 200 EMA, broke the downward trend line, had some major bullish movement up previously, and it is trying to test this area. Once it breaks this area and closes, the next real resistance is up here at 25 cents from 8 cents. Beyond that, we're looking at 45 to 48 cents. Insane amount of volume, showing that this is going to be the bottom. The RSI is very healthy. It's building on top. Oh no. It's building on top of the yellow line here, and we may see a little bit consolidation and then take off towards the overbought area, which would be pushing it up towards this 25 cent mark. Beyond that, there is a long way to go for CTSI as well, and you would be entering at near absolute bottom if you are entering into CTSI right now. Definitely a very good opportunity. Same with Perpetual Protocol. None of this is financial advice. Keep that in mind. We broke this downward trend line. Holding over the 200 EMA, we are overbought on the 4-hour RSI. But if we zoom out, we can see that we are very healthy, and we are starting to push upwards. We ultimately really want to close above this previous high and this 200 EMA at the same time, which would push it upwards. But the 200 EMA is getting very, very weak. XDC, I personally entered into XDC, and we are currently in consolidation. Upward trend line holding as support, volume picking up, 200 EMA holding as support as well. We need to break this downward trend line in order to start seeing some more bullish momentum. But XDC is in partnership with Ripple Labs, so if you're stacking XRP, stack your XDC. NEAR looked very, very healthy in the daily, testing that 200 EMA. Ultimately, once we close over that 200 EMA and the RSI is not overbought, that's where you would be looking for your entry to start seeing that push towards this downward trend line around 440. And then once that's broken, NEAR has a long way to go to get to a new all-time high as well. $2.80 is not bad for an entry point. LCX, Toshi, NKN, wow. Bear with me if you guys are watching for all these. LCX, the entry would be now. Ultimately, we do want to see a break. A break over this downward trend line right here. If you can get over that area, and that would be over the 200 EMA. It shows that we have some more support, and we can start seeing the next push up to 20 cents for LCX. If you have not entered LCX, now would be a very good entry. Not financial advice. Toshi, ooh, the meme coins taken off. Dogecoin, Toshi, I assume Floki as well. Push out of this downward wedge. Now is where you'd be looking for your entry for Toshi for that next push up. Once we close above this 0008, the next area we'd really want to see as resistance is all the way up here at dropping a 0.15. Very, very good opportunity on Toshi at this moment. H bar similar to XRP and XLM, but looking very healthy as well. Touching the downward wedge. When we see it break that downward wedge, we usually see some further momentum towards the upside after testing it as support. Get some H bar if you can. I don't have a huge bag myself, but H bar is definitely a good one. NKN, very kind of hidden one. But when it gets over that 200 EMA, NKN has a very long way to go to get to its all-time high. Currently at 3 cents, all-time high at $1.50 something. Very good opportunity for NKN at this point, but definitely make sure it gets over that 200 EMA and does not get rejected. Ooh, I got so many coins I gotta stop doing so many within one video. Epic, upward trend line. We want to see a little bit more support before entering. Floki, similar to Toshi. Zooming out into the daily, major bullish momentum. Holding above the 200 EMA is what we want to see before entering into Floki for that push up to 0.00015. Cookie Dow. Someone asked me to do Cookie Dow, and I actually entered this a while ago. This is in the 4 hour. I had entry right whenever we got above this 200 EMA and started consolidating, and we broke this downward trend line. So now that it is trying to break this previous high, the next area would be around 17 cents from 14 cents. It's a major W forming. And if we do Fibonacci retracement, we can see 618 is all the way up here at 27 cents. Beyond that, it still has a very, very long way to go to get to the previous high. So getting in at 3 nickels is definitely not a bad opportunity. It's looking very bullish at the moment. And yeah, I entered this personally below this downward trend line. That's usually not my plan to do it before that happens, but there's a lot of consolidation and support, and this was very healthy on the RSI, and so I had my entry, and we broke this downward trend line, currently in profit on Cookie Dow. Sapien is one that was brought up, and there's not a whole bunch of information on Sapien, but looking at the daily, this is what we got. There's not a whole bunch to go off of, but with Sapien being brought up, math is something that is very similar to what Sapien did. If we go back in time, right here, we saw this major push up, another major push up, similar formation, major push up for math. So that can be a similar formation. When I saw this first come out with math, I said, no, it doesn't look like the best investment, and just kept on going 100% a day for like a week. It was pretty intense. So Sapien actually is not a bad opportunity. There's not a whole bunch of information to go off of, but right now it's definitely a good shot. Don't do your biggest bag on it, but it's an opportunity. BCH, 15 minute, it definitely is bullish. If you are in on BCH, the next stop is around 718. If you are not in on BCH, you want to see a close above that at 718. I believe the high is around 4,000. Keeping in mind the previous 618 is around $1,000. So that'd be roughly less than 2x your money for that push up. But beyond that is 1,600 really is the next resistance, which is about 3x from your entry point if you're entering in at 6. A little less than 3x if you're entering right when it breaks this point for BCH, but it's definitely bullish. We ultimately want to see a close above this previous high if you have not entered BCH. This one went up 500% in like a few days. Actually, this is 15 minutes, sorry. Within a few hours. 600%, something like that. 400, my bad. 400%. Had that major retracement, is holding off that 200 EMA as support. So you could see that quick push back up. And looking at the further picture, keeping in mind this is Fortune Room. I don't know what this is. I just saw the insane price increase. And we may see that potential push up towards 0.001, but it's definitely a gamble. It's new fart is the way I see the coin. It's new fart coin. Who knows? I don't know what it is. It's something to keep an eye on if you just want to play around with like $10, see what can happen with it. But it is holding off that 200 EMA. We actually saw this in XCN twice before it had its major 2,000% gain. But with all that being said, reference for trading on MEXC in the description below. If you use it, you get $10 USDT free, which you can buy new fart coin or XCN or Tornado Cash and all the other references in the description below. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.